Good day and welcome. Today's episode lays out an easy format for formal parent conferences and informal conferences and how documentation is key in some of these meetings. This is Tips to Teach, and the mission is to share information to ease the demands of the teaching profession. I am Shauna Jefferson with nearly 30 years of experience in 5 districts, both public and charter, and have taught over 1,800 students. I promise to illustrate the importance of verbal and written communication of student progress. Parent conferences can be challenging. It doesn't have to be that way if you have a plan. There are formal conferences that include the 2-day mandatory district-wide days in the fall and the spring. Others may be scheduled by administration and the special education team, which includes social workers, psychologists, and counselors. These are meetings in which you will provide a verbal account, documentation, and evidence on a specific student that will become a part of the child's record. In addition, any meetings that you or your team schedule to discuss student progress is considered a formal conference. I like to define informal conferences as a verbal or written communication via phone, email, or correspondence, like a note sent home with the student. They can also include talking to a parent when they drop off or pick up their child. When holding formal conferences, I usually have a format that will facilitate the meeting. I start with general comments about the child. That includes student demeanor, attitude, and work habits. Then I shift to academics. I talk about what is going well and what needs improvement. While talking about this, I print 3 or 4 samples of classwork and homework, as well as scores on recent tests or quizzes. I talk about work habits, which is supported by a printout of the current grades that the parents can take with them. When talking about assignments, I use a simple fraction like the student completed 12 out of 15 homework assignments and 18 out of 22 class assignments. I share the current average in class and I discuss whether they are performing above grade level, on grade level, or below. Next, I shift to behavior and work habits. I discuss cooperation, listening skills, participation, individual habits versus group habits. I talk about respect for staff and students and the ability and willingness to follow rules and directions. Last, I sum up areas that need improvement, like asking more questions to gain understanding and participating in discussions, whether talking to teachers or working with classmates. For more focused growth, I suggest a scheduled time and place for completing homework at home, invite them to after-school tutoring, or use a daily progress report. I have some examples of progress reports I've created that you can download from tipstoteach.com. However, there are many you can find online. Last, I ask if they have any questions or concerns. Usually, I try to keep formal conferences at 20 minutes. Even when the core teachers are meeting with the parent as a group. If you are in a special team meeting, like planning an IEP, plan for an hour or more depending on the purpose. I always want to highlight the positives, noting that every student has some area in which they excel and an area that needs improvement. If you just keep the same format for every student, it will be easier, and as you practice, you will learn how to move these meetings along. There are some days when I need to catch a parent at their car. Here is where I ask. I only have a few minutes to make my point. I will greet them and simply state, I don't know why Mia was having a hard time focusing today. She was all over the place and could not stop talking. She did not complete her work. I just wanted to let you know it was so unlike her. Usually, the parent is very receptive and intrigued and reassures me that she won't be a problem again. Now, I will give the student at least 3 times to improve on their own. I will redirect and counsel as necessary. Once the behavior continues, I pull out the meeting by the car, completely catching the student off guard. And then I redirect my questioning at the student asking, how many times have we had a conversation about X, Y, and Z? And the parent is even more intrigued, eyeing their child and letting me know that all will be well tomorrow and that I should let them know immediately if she is causing a problem. Well, you know how that can go. Most parents hold their word, others are blowing hot air to get you off their case, and others mean well but just don't have the means to hold their student responsible. That's a whole other ball of confusion to unravel. I won't do that here today. When you are invited to an administration meeting or a special education meeting, you want to have your documentation of academics and behavior. That may include a progress report and a summary of observed behavior data. You may be asked to describe areas where the student is performing below level, specifically in reading and math. You can also highlight strengths in other classes. If you have been communicating with your parents on a regular basis, in-person conferences should go smoothly. Throughout my years of teaching, I got into the habit of sending home progress reports midway between each quarter. As districts came into the era of No Child Left Behind and RTI, I increased my communication via email. Say, for instance, we have a 12-week semester. I would send a progress report at 6 weeks. I would also send emails once per month stating the number of assignments and classwork complete and recent test scores. I hated doing it, with the passion. It was so much work. However, I needed to have documentation that I was informing parents of student progress far in advance and ahead of the official report card and promotion to the next grade. The worst part of the year was sending retention letters home in May and parents break down the school door to refute and defend their position of being unaware that their child was failing. I learned my lesson. Starting in September, parents would hear from me every month and I would have my documentation binder ready to prove my case. By May, there were no ifs, ands, buts, or suppose. There would be no need for last-minute hash-outs and my child this and I didn't know nonsense. Providing those progress reports also kept my grade book up to date, which meant I was in the habit of promptly grading and returning papers. And when it was time to complete report cards, all I had to do was submit. If I had to write comments, I could easily copy and paste the same comments from emails with a few tweaks. You will encounter a wide range of parent personalities, from the overly concerned and highly visible to the aloof and seemingly disinterested. In any case, it is still your job to communicate student progress consistently throughout the year. If your school or district only requires the quarterly report cards, I encourage you to at least send home 4 interim progress reports. And if you are a promotional grade teacher like 5th and 8th, I would send a current report for each child every month starting in January. Whatever it means is easier for you, use email or the parent portal your district uses. Do that. Document the dates, and you may even want to keep a hard copy if you created your own report that's not saved online. Just some things to think about. Thank you for listening.